So James, I appreciate you joining us today. Since you know it's Sunday, usually people are at church this day, and churches are closed, movie
It's
theaters are
one
closed.
o'clock, so
Yeah.
probably not.
Well, I thought they
Yeah.
had church service all day, different
11.
times.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't go.
Yeah,
Never been.
I'm a heathen. It's okay.
Yeah, me too.
But like I said, thanks for joining us today, James.
No problem.
We've known each other for years now, and been trying to get you on here, and scheduling, and people getting sick, and now we're quarantined,
Yeah.
so we're all here.
Now we don't have a choice.
Yeah, now we're all in the same boat. We're all like stuck at home, so it's like, hey, why not communicate online?
Right. So, you're one of my favorite reviewers out there in the
Oh,
film
bless you.
world. And so where did the whole love for movies start for you?
Oh gosh. I just remember I didn't like sports. I didn't like I don't know. I love movies even as a child. Like I remember seeing like movies and especially weirdly enough, way too many horror films. I was watching movies like Jaws and Halloween as a child, and I thought they were so cool, and I love that idea of disappearing into a movie. You could watch something terrifying or something really crazy or like something like Caddyshack, some weird comedy. I was seeing way too many adult movies as a kid, but I fell in love with the idea of just like living in that world for a couple hours. It was always cool, and so I remember actually I had a teacher once tell me that it was a data processing class, and I'd always come talking about movies, a movie I saw over the weekend, and she's like, "Well, you should really take your studying seriously because no one's ever going to pay you for talking about movies." So there you go. Now I am, but it started really early, and I knew that it's a world I wanted to be in. Whether it was I wanted to be an actor, actually, that was what I always wanted to be as a kid. Um, and I did it a little bit, but I decided I don't know. I changed, and I like writing about movies. I like talking about movies. I like interviewing people. I like living in that world, and a little less pressure because I'm not making a movie, and I'm not one of these poor directors that comes out with a film and everyone's like, "Oh, it's the worst movie ever made. How dare you make that? How dare you ruin my childhood?" So at least I don't have to deal with that.
That's a good point.
Uh, so when did it start really getting serious for you that you wanted to do the writing? Like, I'm sure you took courses in college for this, or
Here's what.
Yeah, not weirdly enough. It was a weird beginning because I started reading like Joe Blow and Arrow. First site I started reading seriously was Arrow in the Head because I loved horror. And I was talking to a friend, and I was, I had just done a few plays, and I was produced a few plays, and was in a few plays, and I was like, I want to write about movies, and I want to, and I was reading Arrow in the Head, and I'm like, I like this, I like what this guy's doing, I love John Fallon, I love his kind of sardonic, kind of awesome humor, and so I contacted him, and we would, email each other. If he was in from Montreal, we'd have like get a drink or something, grab lunch, and I would start talking to another friend who was starting a website, and he was like, "Yeah, no, let's do it. You can review movies." And so I was kind of starting to do that. Nothing happened, and one day John came back into town, and we were talking, and he's like, "Why don't you apply to Arrow in the Head?" I'm like, really? Because I'm not anything. I'm nothing. And so I had no experience really. I'd just taken a few courses. I didn't think I could do it. I decided to do it, and I got the job. I beat out a bunch of people, and within months, I was working for Joe Blow, doing the junkets and interviews, and then I ended up writing reviews for Joe Blow, that was a big transition because people were used to Burge's reviews, and once someone else started writing them, they were like, "Oh, how dare you? You're not Burge. Why are you writing a review?" But it worked out. Now we have like four great writers writing reviews, maybe more than that. Actually, more than that. It was weird. It wasn't expected. I mean, I was writing plays. I was doing theater. I was, doing the occasional independent film. Um, but yeah, I just kind of fell in love with the idea of just talking about movies that I love. It was fun.
Yeah. I often go to the Joe Blow YouTube channel and show Nicole whatever the latest TV trailer or movie trailer that's out. You guys got a good channel there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do.
And I
We're
spend a lot
trying to
of
grow.
my time living under a rock, so I don't know about it.
That's all right. That's all. You got this guy. He could fill you in. He can fill all the blanks.
We all have our strengths.
Yeah.
I got it.
Exactly.
Okay. So right now, with like Joe Blow, where is it ranking like with viewership and readers, and do you know that?
Not really. I don't. I'm not the one to ask. I think that I stay. The beauty of my position is I don't really need to know that. I mean, I think we're doing a pretty good actually, considering the circumstances with Hollywood shut down, currently shut down.
You guys got to be
Because
at least top three. I mean,
we're doing well, and I think. I can't really speak for the numbers, but I can speak for the level of talent and the level of professionalism and the level of decency that Burge, Paul Shirey, our editor in chief, Fallon, these guys have collected a really good group of writers. We like each other. We communicate with each other. We respect each other. I think there's a level of camaraderie there that I think that, and I'm sure other sites can say that too. I feel like one of those guys. It's like, oh, it's like family, working. I feel like that, but it is. I really love the Joe Blow crew. I really like. There's some I don't know that well. There's a lot of new guys that I haven't gotten the chance to really interact with. But I don't know. I love our site. I've been there since 2006, I believe, and to still be a part of it and to still be having people inspired by it, and even celebrities, like you interview celebrities and you have them go, oh my god, I love Joe Blow, and you're like, yeah, right, and then suddenly they start talking about, oh yeah, I read this article, I read this and that, and you're like, oh shit, okay, they know what they're talking about. We have a few high profile fans, plenty of them, so it's an honor, really. It's exciting.
yeah. So we're gonna hop into a couple questions here for James.
Are you gonna make me ask them first?
Yes.
You can do it. I
See what
believe
I
in
have
you.
to deal with. Well, which one do you want me to ask first?
Why don't you start with the first one there?
He wrote questions for me. I always joke that he has to be my handler because when he was like representing me for comments in the classroom and stuff, and we were doing panels and stuff, he'd be like, you got to be here at this time. And he'd be like dragging me all over the place. And I'm like, hey, I'm the only person that's momming here. Like, I don't know. You just have to tell me where I need to be. Like, we'll drive there. I will drive us there. And then you just tell me where we have to be. And so I'm like, just be my handler. And so I used to pick on him a lot. So then when we do this, he's like, all you got to do is sit there and I'll tell you what to ask. And I'm like, cool, I can do that.
There you go.
But it's his way to boss me around because usually I boss him around. So like you were talking about interviewing and you actually sit down with people. Who was or has been your favorite person to interview?
It kind of depends on, like, my favorite actor. I think you'll know this, Brian, is Tom Hardy. I think he's amazing. I think he's incredible. I'm a huge fan of his. I've gotten the chance to interview him twice. I love this man. I think I respect the fact that he doesn't put on airs. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. He doesn't take bullshit. He's not like, oh well, you probably saw he did a press conference for Legend, and someone was trying to ask him about his sexuality, and he's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Why are you asking me that? What does that have to do with the movie? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I respect that. And I actually got a compliment. I got a compliment from him, which made me very happy. So I interviewed him one time. The first time I interviewed him, I said, "You're one of the best." And he actually said, "So are you, man." I was like, I'm going to hold on to that. One of my favorite people in the world is Colin Farrell. I adore this man professionally and personally. He's one of the nicest, kindest, most amazing human beings. Catherine Hahn is amazing, lovely. Miss Piggy was awesome. She's really rad. Uh, yeah, I've interviewed Muppets. Let's see. Trying to think. I mean, I generally like the people I interview. You know, I've very rarely have I had a bad interview. I've had a couple. One of them went to jail. I'm not going to talk about that one, but yeah, that person was terrible. But I'm not gonna trash anybody personally.
But the bad ones, is it because of the situation or something that happened before they sat down with you, or some technology based thing went awry or whatever, like something like that? Or was it more just the personality of the person when they sit down to review or to be?
That's a great question, because if you think about it, we all connect with each other differently. So it's hard to know whether are they just jerks, or there's some people, I've never interviewed him, but Tommy Lee Jones has an interesting,
he has a reputation.
Yeah, he's got
I've
a
heard
reputation.
the word diva.
A little bit, yeah. So,
Reputation.
but you know what? I'm going to tell you a story. I won't get too detailed into it, but Christopher Waltz has that reputation. He's a difficult interview, and that there's a famous interview where he's basically telling this journalist that, like, why are you asking that? You don't know what you're talking about, to his face. So I had to interview him, and I was terrified because I was like, I'd heard all these stories, and it was for Alita and the Battle Angel movie, and I was a little nervous, frankly. I didn't want to interview him because I'd heard so many nightmares. But someone from Warner Brothers was like, no. He's a good guy. Just, just try it. And so I went in and I just talked to him personally before we started the interview. I told him a personal story about my life and how that movie affected me, Alita. And one of the loveliest people I've ever met. So you kind of don't know. I mean, maybe the personalities clash. Maybe they're having a really bad day. Maybe they hate the movie that they're promoting.
Or maybe the journalist before you said something.
Exactly. I mean, I remember interviewing another favorite of mine, Sean William Scott, one of the coolest guys in the world, and
Stifler.
Yes, and he has no problem. There's a couple of interviews I did with him that blew up because he's basically trashing Mr. Woodcock, a movie that he did press for, and he's like, "Dude, oh my god, we were so miserable doing the press for that because that movie sucked." So a lot of times they know the movie's garbage, and they're like, "Okay, well, how do we talk about it?" I just interviewed somebody, and they're in a movie for 5 minutes, and I'm trying to interview them for a movie, which, how are they going to give you information? But they pulled it off. So, because they're professionals. But I don't know. I think the bad ones, I try not to judge unless if it's a common theme. And I've interviewed, one of the worst interviews I had early on was Ewan McGregor. Like, first time I interviewed him, it really wasn't a good interview. It just didn't feel right. And I'm a huge fan of his. But every other time I've interviewed him, he's been amazing. So people have days that they're just not in the mood, or I have days I'm not in the mood. I go into an interview, maybe something bad happens, and you're not feeling the energy, but you do your best.
Go-to question. That's gonna be my question, because I think I asked it yesterday to our guest yesterday, and he said kind of the same thing. It's like we forget that they're human.
Yeah.
And that they're prone to having bad days too. Like we assume that just because, like in my job, from the time I walk in to the time I leave, I have to be on.
Yeah.
So like that professionalism you expect to have from everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know their ability to be that professional.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think there are times when I haven't had that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I haven't been able to be on. Like there it was just a day. Like
Yeah.
it was like I don't want to be here. I don't want to have contact with people. Like I just want to crawl in my hole and hide. And
Yeah.
so understand that feeling, but I think when we put ourselves on that like we all put ourselves on a pedestal. So like my kids put me on
100%.
a pedestal, I have to do certain things for them, and I have to be a certain person for their parents, and I have to be a certain person for my principal. And so I think like we put our actors and our directors and our famous people on that pedestal too, and we
Yeah.
say, well, you should be there too. And like you kind of signed up for it, so you kind of should know. But also life doesn't just stop because you're famous. Like
Yeah.
people still die and you still get, pushed in places, or people say things to you, or you just don't feel like it. Like you didn't have enough coffee that morning. Like it could be anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's
it's
simple.
interesting to hear when people say that, there's very few things that go terribly wrong, but when they do, whatever just doesn't gel. And
Yeah.
it's a rough 15 to 20 minutes or whatever.
Oh, we get like for TV, you get like 5 minutes if you're
Yeah.
lucky, maybe. But like the thing about the way I approach it is simply I approach them as human beings. And I walk in either if I like the movie or I like their performance, I give them a compliment. Or just talk about something that really touched me, or I talk about being a parent, or I just try to find something that kind of connects to them, and simple as that. I try to be nice. I mean, they're wasting time on me. Even if I hate the movie, one of my there's I love directors who I'm not a huge fan of his movies, but my God, Mick G, coolest guy in the world. I love this dude. He's so nice. Whether and he, it's like anything else. He has his fan base and he has people that love his stuff. Uh, why go and be a dick just because you didn't like whatever movie
Right.
he worked on? What good does that do? Um, because then they kind of,
He
you
has
know,
a too.
Kids.
The dog has feelings and personality too.
this is true.
The dog is trying to sleep, and the kid wants him to come with them.
The quarantine has really been rough on the dog, I think. Like rougher than,
Oh my gosh.
because he's like, why are all these people always here?
Yeah, I saw someone did a cartoon of that. It was actually really funny. It was like the cats are like, it was like I think it was cats, and they're like, "Why are these people around? Oh, get out, go
Leave
away!"
now.
But
Well,
no,
and
that is
he
that's a
has
good
nap
question.
time. Like he has nap time. Like he lays there and he does nothing. And now, well, first he snapped at him, and now he's licking him. So he's like, I know I'm not supposed to bite you, but you're annoying me. Leave him alone. I'm gonna throw something at you. You're not listening.
Don't you dare throw a spoon at me
I
again.
don't have the spoon. I'll throw one of these at you. These are more fun.
But yeah, that was a great thing that you say.
Sorry.
You
That's
don't
all
like the movie, you still approach with
You know what?
respect.
I have a good idea.
That shows great professionalism on your end.
Yeah, well, they're people. I mean, and I think people pick up onto that. I recently got the chance to interview for the very first time Julia Roberts, and
You
I
never
love
before?
never got an interview before, and I love Julia Roberts. I'm not necessarily a fan of all her movies, but she during interviews she tells it like it is. She's very honest,
That was mine.
and I actually got a compliment from her, so that was it was one of those like moments where you're like walking out of a room and you overhear them say something nice about you, and you're like, yes. So I just try to be nice. That's it. I try to be nice and respectful and say nice things and have a conversation about the film. Have a
I'm just curious, what
conversational.
particular project was that for?
That was Homecoming, the series that she did, which is pretty marvelous. It's a great series. So I didn't have to make stuff up. She's fantastic in that show. So, that was an easy one. And she actually told me a great story about her co-star saved her life. So I was like, that was interesting. That was really cool. I was very interested. That's a good one to watch. I like that interview a lot.
But then there's people like that. You really hope that those interviews go well because you are a fan of the human. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You're a fan of the person. I don't like everything that they've been in, but that doesn't mean that I don't like them. And I wouldn't want to watch something because she was in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're like, ooh, it makes it that much more special. I think when they say something nice about you or they say something nice about the company that you work for, like these people have really good interviewers that care about, what we're doing. They're knowledgeable and they are interested in what we have to say. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's honestly, I have more stories about people being cool than people not. Honestly, it's I don't know. I go in with respect. I try to respect people. Like even when I do I do this show that I just started on Vidi Space, where it's called Sound Scary, where we talk about music and horror and how it kind of mixes together and get to know the artist. I'm talking to comedians. I just talked to Ronnie Pascal, who is a Twitter comedian, and he's incredibly funny. I mean, he's not just Twitter; he actually does shows. But like, I've talked to Patrick Lussier, who is wonderful. I've talked to uh, Gavin Michael Booth, who just did this wonderful film called Last Call. Uh, and we talk to people on all over, whether they're famous or whether they're not, and it's interesting. I like talking to people. I like hearing their stories. I like hearing, the different ways of life, different outlooks on life, and that's interesting to me.
Yeah. We're looking up a couple of the names here that you.
Cool.
Just because I'm interested, I just never. I see, like I said, I live under a rock for most of the time. So like the only time that I really have time to do anything is between my classes for my ed specialist and between momming and between teaching. So that doesn't leave a lot of time where I'm actually engaged in something where I can retain information. So I'm like, oh, well, you just did this. I'm going to write this down and I'm going to look it up because.
Is there a favorite film festival that you've been to or haven't been to that you would like to go to?
My favorite is definitely South by Southwest, because I'm a huge fan of music. I love music. I've only been once, and I was literally there for one movie. But like you walk the streets of Austin, in a normal time, not during an apocalypse, not during a pandemic, but you walk, when that's going on, you can walk into any bar and you hear live music playing, and you go to a movie and then you go see a band play, and then you go have a drink, and then you go see another band play, and then you have another drink, and maybe go see another movie, and it's like it's really cool. I mean, I haven't been to Park City, Sundance for years and years and years and years and years. Chris Bumbray brilliantly covers that, so I don't even need to worry about it. I actually I don't love film festivals because it's I like the ability to see the films, but the crowds get a little crazy for me. I'm a bit of a homebody, so I don't like the. I did Comic-Con for several years, and that was,
Enough.
yeah, it was enough. It was fun.
Sorry.
Don't get me wrong, but you get tired after a while, and you suddenly don't want to deal with trying to cross a sea of people, an ocean of people, just to get across the street. And it's not my favorite thing. But look, if I'm there to represent Joe Blow, I'm usually happy.
So I was gonna say, with the pandemic going on, I know Hollywood. I mean, I've heard numbers saying that Hollywood's probably going to lose upwards to $17 billion. How do you see see Hollywood bouncing back?
It's a great question. I think it's a scary time. I think they're going to have to rethink how they distribute movies. at least for a while. I think they will bounce back. I don't think we're looking at the end of movies. I don't think we're looking at the end of we're not going to have that form of entertainment. I think it will be. Unfortunately, I do think there's going to be losses. I think the theatrical experience is going to start dying out a little bit, and that saddens me because no worries. There's that saddens me the most because it's nice to be able to go to a movie. It's a nice feeling, and in these times when you can't, they don't want you to leave your house for good reason. You miss that. You miss the feeling of watching it with a group, especially a horror film or something like
Oh
that,
yeah.
or a comedy. I miss that. I do miss that, and I hope we don't lose that. I don't know. I don't know. It's this is I look how Hollywood's gone through wars. They've gone through pandemic. I mean, they've gone through stuff before. So, but I don't remember ever seeing anything like this, where all the theaters were shut down, all Disneyland being shut down for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
That's
Disneyland's
crazy.
only been shut down, I think, like twice in its entire.
Yeah, and it was never for very long, if I remember correctly. It was only a few days or a couple of weeks or something. It wasn't like this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the I don't know how. Unfortunately, it seems like every business is going to have to adapt. We're gonna have a new normal, whether however long it takes us to get through this, whatever it takes to do that. We're all going to have to adjust everything we do, whether it's teachers, whether it's movie filmmakers, whether it's musicians, whether it's lawyers, whether it's doctors. I mean, my God, right now, like it's funny because the heroes that we're seeing, it's not your actors, it's not your sports heroes, it's teachers, it's doctors, it's nurses. It's freaking grocery store workers.
Yeah.
My God, I'm like, you guys are my heroes. I love you guys because you're making it so we can get food and not be scared and just stocking up. And I give the working class a lot of credit right now because it's tough out there, and they're having the quote unquote essential jobs that are having to go in day in day out. They're keeping us going. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully the damage won't be too much. Hopefully we'll get through this soon.
Yeah. I know.
I think there'll be a little bit of a surge, though. When things are finally good, there might be a little bit of trepidation at first, but then I think that there'll be a nice surge where people go back to enjoying the things that they'd missed for so long, Like, I think we'll see a lot more travel and a lot more people out and a lot more shopping and a lot more movie going and a lot more concert going. And I think that a lot of people will just say, we were stuck inside for so long that cabin fever will get to us, and we might be worried at first, but we're going to jump into it, I think, with both feet because we're not used to being without.
No.
We really are a country of instant gratification. We very much like to have what we want, when we want it, how we want it, so I think that we'll jump back into it. Will they recover as quickly as we hope? Probably not.
Probably not. Well, I believe I read somewhere that some theaters are planning on when this does, when we finally get people out again, that a lot of theaters might start showing movies for free, which I think is brilliant because it's, instead of making it being like, oh, come on, give us your money. Hey, let's try this again, slowly but surely. Come on, we'll make it safe. We'll make you guys welcome. And then I think one thing that they need to do for theaters, I think ticket prices need to be lowered. I think it's too much. It's too expensive for movies.
Well, and if they think about that, though, that lower ticket prices, that makes a lot of sense because all of the stuff that's come out, and missed their big screen debut kind of thing, like anything that they've put. Yeah. Are you going to go take them now?
Yeah.
Stop yelling at each other. Oh my God. They go in the room and they decide they're going to kill each other then. But I think that, yes, ticket prices are too high. Like our family of 4, we go to, Brian has one Cinemark thing. Cinemark Movie Club. Thank you. And then, so tickets roll over, and when he has 4 tickets, we go to the movies. Because all by itself, to buy popcorn and have the movie going experience, that's another $50 for the 4 of us.
Oh my God, yeah.
It easily costs $120 for the 4 of us to go to the movies. So it is going to have to be like cheaper, but then they could put these movies back out into theaters and have discounted rates, because some movies you do want to see on the big screen. Like, I want to see Invisible Man. Like, I want to see that movie. The first trailer I saw, I was like, I want to see that movie. Like,
it's a great movie. I love it.
I want to see the movie. And I said, but I don't want to see it at home. Like, I don't want to see it with our surround sound and our, we do have a big TV, but it's not gigantic. But I want that movie going experience. And if I'm going to go see that movie, I want to see it in the movie theater. Like, for me, there's handfuls of movies that I have to see in the movie theater. Like, we've seen the Star Wars movies in the movie theater. We've seen some of the kids stuff that we really wanted to see has been in the movie theater, because the kids like to go to the movies. Yeah, but not everything.
Well, there's that whole experience, and like Invisible Man's a perfect movie for that, because the scares work really well when you have a whole audience going, ah! That's one of those movies you like that experience, and I hope that doesn't go away. I hope we don't lose that. That would really be sad if we lost that kind of experience.
Yeah, well, but I did read that the studios won't let the theaters go under.
No, I don't think so. I sincerely doubt it.
The studios will band together and do something.
I think they have to. I think now is the time to do it. At least and I think they are. I think they're trying to figure out, like, this whole releasing things on, hey, at least they're releasing these movies. Like, I feel bad for The Hunt. You have this movie that was postponed in April, and now it's like,
I didn't die.
It gets released for 3 days. You know, terrible. It's like, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but like, it deserved like a better. I feel bad for the movie. I think it deserved better than it got, but hopefully people will discover it and maybe even liked it on home video, because I know a lot of people did enjoy it that I talked to. So it's but
I'm not gonna yuck on anybody's yum, but it's not my kind of movie. Like, it's not something I want to watch.
But they've made movies like that before too.
For sure.
Those movies, I was like, why am I watching this, and why can't I get the 2 hours back?
It's one of those. I don't mind movies like that. There was just something about that one in particular that I didn't think it handled.
You wanted it all blue.
I don't know what they're trying to do with it. I didn't really. I mean, I know they're trying to make it like show extremes on both sides are bad.
Do you like this?
I feel like it kind of just was a little.
It
didn't work for me. Didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I did like that though.
I'll go buy a box
I
of it.
can't remember her name, but the actress from Glow that's in it. That she's actually on a main, a big screen film. I think
she's the best thing in the movie. She is by far.
Who?
She
the actress from Glow, who plays the mom. Glow. She's in The Hunt.
Mom.
I had to throw it away. It's empty. Okay, he's mad because his hair isn't blue enough.
Oh.
Like, I have a blonde child. Like, blue in my hair is, nothing, because I'm a brunette. But
yeah, exactly.
Well, you're gonna see it in the sun for me. But this is what I bought, and he's screaming about how it's not blue enough. Put it in there. I'll buy a box, and if that's what you really want me to do, I'll turn your hair blue.
Oh, it'll be like Trolls World Tour.
It'll be blue.
Trolls. Oh, I can't wait for that one.
Because he's mad that his hair isn't blue enough. Mom, you didn't put it all over my head. My hair isn't blue.
It's not blue enough for him. Oh, is it Betty Gilpin? Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, she was great. She was the best thing in the movie by far. So it's it's my thing with movies as a critic. You kind of have to go in with an open mind, whether it's your genre or not. So, like, if I have to go see a romantic comedy or something that maybe isn't my thing, I have to give it a chance. I have to be fair.
Right.
Um,
Check everything at the door and
the best thing I can say about The Hunt is I like that they played with the bad. People were trashing the movie well before it came out because no one knew what they were trying to do with it, and it was you had conservatives attacking it, Fox News attacked it, but you also had more liberal people attacking it because it's bad time, it's irresponsible. And I won't say whether or not I agree with that. It's just I think they played with the marketing rather well.
yeah.
I think that was, and it's not definitely not the worst movie I saw this year, so, it's all right.
Then people bashed The Purge too, but that found its audience.
Mm-hmm.
Kind
Yeah,
of
I like the.
kind of became a cult classic at this point. It's got kind of a cult following.
Oh yeah, I mean they've
Like,
got a series. Yeah, it's you hear the Purge referenced in so many movies nowadays, like in just like or TV shows. It's
mhm.
they got something with that. I mean, I love Blumhouse. I love Jason Blum because he's a very smart producer. He also loves movies, which is important. A lot sometimes I've known a few major producers that I don't know why they make movies because they don't seem to care. But I'm going to switch over to this headphone. Sorry to do this because my thing is dying. My phone is dying, so I'm going to switch off to this in a minute, real quick. If you guys are cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What?
How's that?
That's good.
Is that
All
okay?
right.
Okay, cool. Then I can charge my phone for a minute. Uh, yeah, it's I love that's why I like producers who seem to know their audience really well. Uh, Not every movie come out with
Uh-oh.
something like that,
Uh-oh.
and then, like they what they did with.
His phone didn't like that he moved it.
Yeah.
Are you losing me?
You're broken. We can't hear you.
You guys hear me now?
I hear you.
Oh,
Let's see.
have the best. Okay, trying to see. Yeah, unfortunately, it's like we're having one of our moments at the place. How about now? Nothing.
That's better.
That's better.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. Cool. You're still good? You guys are frozen for me right now.
Okay,
Oh,
I can
okay,
hear
cool. You're
you.
moving. Okay.
Here
Okay.
you
That's the problem with it. That's the problem because we don't have the best internet here. AT&T doesn't offer the good. We're on the we're low on the totem pole, I guess, for this. But so
Are you looking at one of those questions?
Oh, well, I was just being ready for
Okay.
the next time you throw something at me where I'm supposed to say something and I'm like,
Well, I want to hop into this before we get to this question. So last night I messaged you for a film recommendation. So we went on Amazon Prime and watched The Final Terror.
oh yeah.
Oh,
So
I'll
I
let
think you
you
guys are
I
huge
think
fans.
it really was the quintessential like 80s slasher flick, but it was funny. One, because because they're really caricatures. It was like, here's all the dumb kids, and here's the guy that just wants to get laid, and what do you want?
Lucky. No! Get away!
I'll take care of it. You go ahead and talk.
I said, don't put the dog in the room. Did they listen to me? No. He did think he's lucky he's still alive. Well, duh. Anyways,
Oh.
so it was like caricatures of the characters, which is really funny because they're larger than life. So Ryan's like, this will be an interesting one. I'm like, in 1983, it'll definitely be an interesting one.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and the opening scene is the two people that get killed by the booby trap, and I'm like, holy crap! What kind of opening is this? I was like, welcome to 80s horror.
Yeah, exactly.
You watched the movie last night too.
Yeah.
Oh, did you like it?
Did you like the movie last night? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a strange little one too. He has liked he was 3 years old and he'd walk over to the movie case and say, "Daddy,
I'm
that
not
one."
3 years old.
No, when you were 3 years old.
And he'd be like, "Daddy, that one." He's to the puppet master. So it's like Brian's like, "Baby, they're not toys." And he's like, "I don't care. I want to watch that one." And so Brian put it in the one day. We finally gave in to him because this was months that he'd been talking about seeing it. And he's like, wow. And then it just kind of grew from there. Dad's love of horror films became the child's love of horror films.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. I mean, kids love horror. I mean, you have to be responsible as a parent. But like I remember walking into a horror movie with my mom when I was a kid, and the ticket taker actually said, you really shouldn't be taking your child to this movie. And I'm like, as a kid thinking, I know it's a movie. Do you? I know I'm not going to go and do this. I mean, but there's some kids that can't handle it.
It's funny because
that's our job as parents.
He says they're just wearing a mask. It's not scary because it's not real. And I'm like,
yeah.
Smartest 4-year-old that I've ever heard. He'd say, it's not real. I know you're not 4, but when you were 4.
Jeez. Why do I keep on forgetting?
This is why actors don't want to work with kids and animals because.
No, the puppets were kids.
The puppets were. It's not fast. It's not FANF.
I'm looking at you for a reason. He's just not saying something.
He's laughing at you.
Sadly, this is no denying this child is mine.
You already adopted me, so.
But back to the final terror, I thought it was great that seeing people like before they, really got big.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never say his name right, so. I mean, and he is always larger than life in movies, but as Edgar, he was over the top.
There's that one. That's one of those movies that I remember seeing as a kid, and it was like I saw a video or something, and I was like, "This is actually fun." It's not a great film. It's not. Did I lose you guys again? I think I did. Hold on. Uh-oh. Let's try this again. Let's see.
You're back.
Oh, there you are.
What?
Yeah, there you are. Movies that it's not a great movie. It's not going to win any awards. It's one of those. I love 80s slasher because you talk about the opening kill. They always have the formula. They have to have the opening kill. Then they have most 80s slasher movies have 40 minutes of nothing, just character development where you get to know these people and you see the guy walking around, you see the sucker. You might have one scare at a 20-minute mark. Oh, actually, I should have recommended to you guys. Did you guys ever see He Knows You're Alone?
I might have seen it years and years ago.
Well, it's that one is very much worth saying. It's blatant how blatant.
Halloween
but
off.
it also has Tom Hanks in it. 5 minutes. He plays it. Yeah, it's about He Knows You're Alone is about a bride to be that's being stalked by a killer, and of course it's funny though because of that movie specifically. Tom Hanks is in it, and he's actually really good. He's really good in it. It's you can watch it. Yeah, I can see why that guy became a star. The lead girl is really good. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's really terrific. But the kills are pretty good. The Scream 2 actually, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but they paid homage to this movie a couple of times. Scream and Scream 2, there's a couple scenes in He Knows You're Alone that are the opening scene in He Knows You're Alone is a theater, a movie theater. Two women go see a horror movie, and one guy's about to kill one of them. It's just like the opening of Scream 2. So I definitely recommend that. The score will be like, wow, they didn't even try to hide their love of John Carpenter's theme of Halloween. I mean, it's obvious. But I like that. I love 80s slashers because they're innocent and they're weirdly kind of charming, and they take it seriously enough, but not too serious to be. I don't know. They're just kind of that's my popcorn movie. I love 80s slashers, all of them. Like
Well,
that was just a fun period.
yeah, earlier last year, I showed Nicole the movie Popcorn.
Oh God, yeah. Jill Schoelen, I love that film.
It's funny because like when I'd go to the video store when I was little, because I was afraid of cat. I was afraid of cat. Anyways, a huge afraid of cat. So I didn't watch horror movies. I didn't like when I was little. I'd fall asleep on the couch with my dad, and the TV would be on. So like at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning before they got the fuzz, it'd be like before they went off the air because we didn't have cable. They'd play scary movies. So like I'd seen Elvira and I thought she was really cool and stuff, but then I kind of was like scared out of my mind because there were these movies that had monsters in them that came out of the toilet and did all kinds of like, I knew they were movies. I knew they weren't real, but it was enough like when you're in that waking, sleeping state to be afraid of something when you're little. And when you see things by accident, like I still think that the original It with the series, the
TV movie.
Tim Curry.
With Tim Curry is still scarier than anything Skarsgård could do. Like like there's just a lot that's CGI, and it's like he was just scary because he was scary.
Yeah.
He was in a clown suit, and yeah, there was some makeup, but it was a clown, and it just made things scarier. But
I just think in general that CG is practical is generally better in my opinion.
But it made everything more just more fun. I don't know. It just watching stuff now because you're like, wow, that's really, you can tell that's movie makeup, but you watch like behind the scenes stuff and you get excited about the fact that somebody made that. Like somebody made that happen. And you're just like, this is really cool. But I was afraid of cat when I was a kid. So I'd go in the movie store and see all these like boxes sitting in front of movies that I was like, that's scary and that's scary. And I'd be like, oh, that was a scary cover. And I was like, I never saw that movie. So Brian showed me the movie and I'm like, now, probably if I'd seen it when I was 10, I would have been like, what the hell? But I'm, pushing 40 and not, you see it for something completely different. You see it for a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And there's reasons why they're more campy and more fun now because we get like the formula, but they're fun.
I've been trying to show her the films like that. You remember the VHS cover.
Yeah.
Like that was scary. That was a scary one. Don't show me Dolls. I don't think I'll get over that one.
Dolls? Actually, Dolls. That's
Yeah,
actually a good movie.
it's not a good movie. It's not.
It would still freak me out.
I like Dolls.
That was better than the movie. That was Denise Crosby, right? Wasn't she in that movie? Or, I think Dolly Dearest. I'm trying to think. Now this is gonna bug me. I think.
It's a Stuart Gordon movie though, right?
Yes, it is. I believe. Oh, okay. It's not. I think she was in another film. Dolls. I remember seeing, and I didn't love it as a kid, but it's one of those. I think. I know a lot of people really. A lot of people in the horror community really dig it. It's kind of become a cult classic, I think.
I just think I'm one of those people that like.
Do you get?
Okay, so it's kind of funny that because Brian was telling me when you were coming on the show that you're friends with Nick Groff. So I have spent a lot of time watching paranormal everything. So the more ghost story it is, the better. And I love everything that has to do with hauntings. But because every time I see a paranormal show where they zoom in on a doll and the damn doll moves, I just can't. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Turn it off, walk away. Like, just can't.
We actually, I was in Virginia City with Nick. I think it was a few months back. I don't remember exactly when it was. There was it was at the Washoe Club, and they had one room set up with, there was a doll in a little rocking chair, and I believe one night, I went to another place, but the doll started moving back. No one was there to touch it. I know my cameraman was there. My partner, my co-host for Sound Scary was there, and I believe that the doll started moving. I have pictures of it. I should send it to you. It's if I can, I'll find it. I'll send it to you. It was very disturbing. Yeah, that. It's I like that stuff too. I've always been kind of fascinated with, and I do think there's something that, I'm not the kind of person that goes into a room and like, oh, there's a noise, it must be a ghost, because you have to be, you kind of have to be like, I don't know, a lot of times there's explanations for it, but I believe that there's a reason that stuff exists and the reason we're able to do things. I just don't think it's been able to. We haven't found the way to make it connect to people who are skeptical of that kind of energy. I just think it's energy that people leave behind. That's all it is. Because I've had too many experiences where I'm like, oh yeah, there's the door moving or stuff like that.
But I think that a lot of what we put out there in paranormal investigation and stuff like that a lot of people put out how funny it is, and they don't validate it with the same kind of fervor as other brands of science. Like, they want to validate it with something. Like, there's too many people that are making a quick buck off of it because it's something that's that it's popular. And so people that their first inkling is to say there's something going on. It's like, okay, so my house makes that noise all the time. There isn't anything here. I have lived in places where I've had serious things happen and I'm like, the fuck, like, I'm terrified. And I could tell tons of stories. Like, I could tell millions of stories about it. But I think a lot of times people go into these places and they make it this bigger, it's bigger than it really is kind of thing. And it's to show off and not really to talk about why the energy is there and what's going on. So it always kind of makes me sad that there's no validation for what these people are doing, but to sound like they're making a quick buck off of going to these places and scaring people.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll give it one day. I hope maybe like because look, when the stuff I've done, especially there's a guy that owns a house That's how I met Nick. Actually, I did an episode of Adventures, and this guy's house. Like you go into this guy's house and like David Omen, and it's my God. I mean, stuff happens. Like the second you went, I took my mom to watch a movie he made. We're just there to hang, and he lives now. To put this into perspective, he built this house about 50 so odd yards from where Sharon Tate was murdered. So it's right on that hill, right on CeeLo Drive, and I was sitting with my mom, and I heard someone. David was down in the office. I heard someone running up the stairs. He had this big spiral staircase. I was like, "Oh, what did he forget? Did he forget to do something?" I looked down. I'm like, "There's literally no one there." So I called up, like, "David?" And he's like, "Called up the bottom floor." "Oh yeah, what's going on? You need something?" I'm like, "No, no, I heard someone running up the stairs." Or a lot, like when I was interviewing Nick and Katrina for Paranormal Lockdown, lights started going on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off, and then they'd start reacting to Nick's questions. So it's very bizarre. It's like it's a lot easier to brush off the unexplained. Like I would rather find out why. That's more interesting to me to find out why. Well, why did it do that? Why? What's the reason that we got a little girl's voice talking to us on camera and there's no little girl? There's a video of on Joe Blow where we investigate his house. I think it's a poltergeist event. So if you want to look it up, Joe Blow poltergeist event, and it's at that guy's house. We have on camera. We were talking to David at the end of the night, 1 a.m, and he said, did anything weird happen while you guys were here? And I'm like, oh, definitely. Didn't notice anything at the time, but when we went to edit the video, when he asked that question, right when I say my answer, you hear a little girl clearly going, "Here's something." There was no little girl there, and it was a direct answer to his question. So that's why I'm like, because people tend to like, oh, like, I don't know. It's a lot easier to go, no, it's BS. You're just making it up, or it's your imagination. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know. But I know I've definitely had experiences. I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I think you have to be, even skeptics have to be skeptical of their own skepticism.
But I appreciate when people go into a place and they're more skeptical about debunking whatever's going on as opposed to just saying something's here. Like not everything that happens is going to be a paranormal event. Like, I mean, my house makes all kinds of noises, but I know that there's nothing here. Now, I cannot say that I have not lived in places where I would walk in a room and want to like look behind me and say, hello? Like, I've been to places like that, and I've lived in places like that where I'm like, I'm not here by myself. Like, I'm here by myself, but I'm not here by myself. So, when you find a place that is quiet, like, we live in a relatively quiet house, like the quietest house I've ever lived in. And I'm not a terrible skeptic. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Like, I'm a skeptic in the way that, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Like there's nothing there. I didn't hear anything. There's nothing there. Kind of thing. But I've had some really bizarre things happen to me that weren't explainable. And you just go on about your day and say, well, here's to the next one. And you just move on. But it's funny that I don't think spiritualists did us any favors, the people that were trying to make money off of people's, grief. I don't think they did us any favors because now people are like, well, that's not real. And they're just coming up with ways that they can chart it without really being science. And so nobody did us any favors. But if the law of energy is true, it cannot be created nor destroyed. We are here, and it's a circle. We don't ever really go away. We just change forms.
I was gonna say, I also think where the skeptics come in is if you turn on TV, there's so many shows for this.
Well, the whole Travel Channel now is everybody's investigating a haunted place, and every place is haunted.
Everybody.
I mean,
Yeah,
you got
I mean,
Ozzy's son is doing it.
Okay, but here's my defense in Portals to Hell, because I've watched Katrina be partnered with lots of people, and
Katrina's lovely. She's a lovely person.
I am a huge fan of hers. One, because that's her question: is why? Why are they here? Why is this the communication that they're getting? Why? Not, she says, and do all the stories match? That was the whole thing. Like, these are the things that people say, and these are the things that they've invented, and these are like, how do they all meld together, and what's the truth? And actually, Jack Osborne is relatively skeptical, and he's not a guy that scares very easily. Like, he isn't the guy that's like, holy shit, and screaming down the hallway.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them that I've watched, and I'm like, really? It's the same person every time. It's like, why do you continue to take that person with you if you know they're going to be the one that scares so easily when there's nothing there?
I think part of it is some people respond to it. It's almost like the scary music that you have in horror films, that sting where you're like the jump scares so it's almost like their version of a jump scare. You almost have to have that. I don't
To
like
keep
it.
people
I agree with
interested.
you, but I think I think it may keep, like, if you have someone maybe they can relate, go, oh, I'd be terrified, I'd be running out the door, blah blah. To see that maybe it's a representation of themselves. So I think that might be why they do that.
I mean,
It's
isn't
not
his name Aaron, right? On Ghost Adventures, he's the one that's always jumping.
For the most part, though. But the funny thing is to see, like, when he talks just to the camera, but there'll be that one thing that triggers something, and he's the one that runs, and I'm like, dude, like, chill out. Now, but that might be a dynamic in the group. Like, we don't know. We don't know how much editing happens. We don't know the dynamic there, and I don't know it because I don't know any of the guys. But when you watch, like, I watch a lot of the shows, and I like to listen to people tell their stories because I'm interested.
I do like the one with the former Marine / police detective. What is that one called?
The Dead Files.
Oh, okay.
I like him, but I don't like her as much. But her husband does the camera.
To be honest, I don't watch the shows, so yeah, I don't watch any of the new shows.
But it's funny to watch, like, their take on a lot of the stuff that's happening. So because one of the questions, because Brian is like, I know you're really into this stuff. He's friends with Nick Groff, and I was like, well, I always liked watching him, even when he was with Ghost Adventures, but I liked watching Paranormal Lockdown because he was the person. He's like, well, why are they, what's going on? And, he would debunk stuff, and he didn't scare easily. And that's the other thing. It's like, I don't want to watch somebody just losing their shit because they heard a sound. Like, I want to hear somebody literally, like, walk into the bowels of whatever and say, what's going on and why are you here? Like, I want to know that. And that's more of what their show was about. I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't seen much of it, of anything that he's done other than,
Well,
but it's just interesting to watch.
Yeah, he's been working on, like, he's got a series coming up. He's kind of working on that. Don't have a lot of details yet. It's called Nick Groff Investigates, which is kind of ties into all of I do for Arrow in the Head, which we do every couple months. We do Nick Groff Investigates on Arrow in the Head. He's got, right now, he's promoting a show he's got with Chad Lindbergh, Johnny Hauser, and they don't remember the other guy's name, but it's a podcast that they do together called G Crew, and he's really excited about that. It's a different side for him, and Nick is amazing because he goes for it, and he tries to just he's one of the most
the thing that I built this morning.
Driven guys I know. He's super driven, and he's really just a genuinely nice guy. I like being around him. I like working with him. There's everything I like about this guy. It's and he's got Vidi Space, which is a streaming channel, which I'm hoping more people discover because it's a really cool way to see all these different types of paranormal, not just ghost hunter shows. They've got Sasquatch. They've got my show, Sounds Scary, where we
Is
interview
that on
people.
Roku?
So it's huh? It's on yeah, it's on Roku, I believe. It's on Amazon. You can get it on Xbox. It's available on my smart TV. So it's becoming more. A lot of the Vidi Space shows are on Amazon Prime. So, I think it's getting there because it's a Nick Groff, it's Elizabeth Saint, and they've done wonders with it, and they're really just good people. And I hope people discover it, and I hope they watch it on like maybe we'll watch my show on Amazon Prime, and they'll be like, oh, cool, I want to check Video Space out. I want to see what else they have. They have original movies. We had the recently in Virginia they had the film festival. The very first Video Space Film Festival, and we had a, a wide array of different. There's there's a movie called A Short that we gave an award to called Rick and Ruby. It's a vampire thing, and it's really funny and really clever and really bloody and fun. Yeah, it's a great site. I hope people check it out. Video Space.
Yes.
VIVIDI?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I believe you can check it out. Like right now, I think they may be offering like a free subscription for like
Right.
10 days or something like that, a trial. Yeah, it's real. I think you would like it. I think it's a good channel. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how much they charge at this point, but it's a cool place to watch like really original content I you don't see anywhere else. I like that.
Well, and I think that that's the kind of cool
The
part.
whole family.
People produce really cool stuff and put it someplace where people can watch it and be entertained by whatever they're bringing to that space. I mean, that's kind of what I like.
Yeah, exactly.
Being able to be on social media and that kind of like avenue to put out your material.
There's a lot of creative people that that are not gonna get seen. So having stuff like this is a great way for them to get their stuff out there.
Well, and if you don't
Exactly.
follow somebody because they disappeared off of something you used to watch, that's my whole thing. It's like, I mean, he disappeared for a while, and I was like, well, where did he go, and what is he doing? And then on Travel Channel, he had a show on, and I was like, oh, cool. And I'm watching it, and they're locked down in these places, and I'm like, oh, this is really neat. And it's just like it strikes me as somebody who's not just putting out a lot of content to put out a lot of content. He's really thinking about what he's doing. But
Yeah,
I think that's what.
He wants answers. He wants to find why, what happens. What happens when we die? That's that he's driven by that. But he's also, what I like about Nick is it's not just that. He has all these other interests. He's a movie buff. He's a fitness guru. The dude, I think that's important too. You have to have all these. You can't just be the ghost guy, or you can't just
Doesn't
be
he have like a band
that
too?
person. I don't think any of them. Yeah, well, he does do music. I don't know if he has a band right now, but he does do rap. He's a very well-rounded individual.
I'm sorry, we kind of descended into talking about somebody else. Really, like I didn't mean for that to happen.
All right,
but it's just interesting. But it's interesting how what you're doing and some of your other projects kind of line up with other people that we're more aware of their face because they've been out there a little bit in different ways. So it's kind of neat to see how things cross and how your different shows and different podcasts and different things kind of like cross paths, and you end up knowing people in the business and kind of working maybe not super closely with them, but you learn and see things from their perspective sometimes, which I think is cool.
It's a small world. It's a small world, especially entertainment. It's you go into a lot of people that you wouldn't expect, and I've met a lot of normal people. I've met a lot of movie people. So it's just kind of it's a very interesting world.
So you wrote down two other things. Is there a person that you haven't interviewed but you really want to?
Definitely. I've never interviewed Jessica Lange. I love Jessica Lange. I think she's phenomenal. I've never interviewed. Uh, I think she's really my one because I grew up watching her movies. Frances and Sweet Dreams. I always thought she was such a phenomenal actress. Hell, I even liked her King Kong. I would love to interview her. She seems like an interesting person to me. I'd love to interview. I love interviewing musicians, and I don't get to do that a lot. There's a lot of music people I'd love to interview. I'd love to interview someone like Eddie Vedder or trying to think who else. There's a ton of people to interview that I haven't had a chance to do yet. Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh my god.
Uh, well, that might be a thing that would be interesting. That might be your bad one of your bad stories. Like, no matter how nice you are to somebody, sometimes it just doesn't matter.
Well, you never know.
Or you could be the one person that turns it all around.
And look, I don't. Yeah, you never know, and it is what it is. It's just, I don't get too serious. I take my job very, very seriously. I also the world by actor about their, but in a sense, it's kind of nice. It's nice to see the human side of these people. It's nice to talk about. I just I like the conversations with it. That's what I really like about my job. I really like the maybe learning something about a movie that you didn't particularly love, but you find out, oh, they had all these challenges. So, oh, okay, maybe that's kind of interesting. I didn't know that going in. So I like that. I do like that a lot.
So when you talked about you're taking your work seriously, what is a film write-up that you're most proud of? Like something you've produced that you're most proud of?
When it comes to reviews, you mean? Um, I kind of I love that movie, and it's a movie that I knew when I saw it. I knew there would be, there's not everyone's a Terrence Malick fan. He's very so, and I always look at his work as cinema poetry, because it's not there's no like narrative. It's not like your typical narrative. It's very, oh, let's look at the tree for about 5 minutes, and then we'll have some kind of weird like narration going on about how the tree represents life or something like that. But Tree of Life specifically, I wrote this review and I really thought about it, and I don't know. For some reason I really like that review. I don't. Yeah, my goal as a critic is just to express my views of the movie and how it affected me. I don't go too deep into technical issues. I don't go too deep into. I don't know. I don't. I'm not Pauline Kael. I'm not one of these. Roger Ebert. I'm not one of those guys. I respect those guys, but my what I want to do is just. There's another review that actually meant a lot to me. It's a movie called Dear Zachary. It's a hard movie to watch. It's not a fun film. It's a documentary about a guy who was kind of telling a story about his best friend, and it's one of the most shocking and horrific things that you could ever imagine happened while he was making this film. It's on film, and it's horrendous, and it's sad, and it's heartbreaking. I've never. It's one of the few movies I was in tears and I was angry. I was physically angry. I had to stop watching it for a while because of something that this real person, a real life person, really did. And I don't want to give too much away, but I remember writing. I not only did I interview him, I wrote a review for the movie, and I know that the filmmaker I think is he actually had people come to a screening because of my review. He told me that meant a lot because I think as hard and painful as that movie is to watch, I think it's an important film. It changed the way they're handled in Canada. They're talking. This is a dark, and I agree. This shit really suffered, and it's all this guy was trying to do was make a movie about his friend, and this God, it's a tough movie to watch, but it's also one of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life. I love it. So I think those two stand out for some reason.
I think when you talk about documentaries, I think that when life becomes that art form, I think we all live in this world of watching movies to escape from our real lives and to go someplace where it's kind of over the top. And when it is real life, I think it does hit us it hits us right in the gut when we think about that these are real people living through this. Like, like when I turn on Netflix, every time I turn on Netflix, it's saying trending, the trials of Gabriel. I can't think of it. The trials of Gabriel thing and the child abuse
Los
thing
Angeles County, right?
Where the kid ended up dying. And I told Brett, I said, all of my friends were talking about it. It's like, how does this happen? And, how does DCF get away with this? And how did he fall through the cracks? And I said, the problem is like, I won't watch the movie. Like, I won't watch the movie for two reasons. One, it has to do with child abuse, and I can't. I just can't. Like, I'm physically unable to sit and watch anything like that for a long period of time. But two, I had a friend that I worked with that was stuck in a very bad situation with a common law husband that was illiterate, and they had already had their problems with DCF, and DCF made them feel like criminals because they were poor and because they couldn't get the help that they needed. And so when her daughter got sick, she didn't take her to the doctor because they called DCF. And so by not acting was this negligent act, but because she didn't feel like she had help. And she had said multiple times, she's like, I worry about my family, and I worry about being able to care for my kids. And, she's not a person that meant to kill her child. She's not a person that meant to let that happen. Like, she didn't act out of that. She acted out of, I don't know what to do because they vilify me, because I work a minimum wage job. Like, sometimes she was a victim of her own circumstances, and she served jail time for negligence. She served jail time for neglect. And I don't know whatever happened to her, but I'm like, I can't watch something where I understand how that hits me as hard as it was that she didn't mean to, but for somebody who meant to. Like, and nobody did anything about it. Like, I can't. I find it very difficult. That one, what was the one with Willem Dafoe that was out here in?
Oh, the Florida Project.
The Florida Project. Even that one. Even that show, which was a movie based on it, it bothered me some, and I cried, and it was hard to watch too. So anytime that you're forced to watch something about real life where it doesn't end happily, I think you're pushed in that place. And documentaries are a harder brand of film to watch when you want to, when we're escaping. Like,
unless it's a Mr. Rogers one, that was a perfect
film. I mean, film is an escape, but but I think it depends on who you're talking about too. Like, if you're talking about something sad and horrible and horrific, you never know what you're going to get. If you're talking about something that basically pales in comparison to any other human being on the planet, you're going to get something different too. So, I mean,
depends on the movie. There's some beautiful documentaries. There's some challenging documentaries, but I definitely, I would, with Dear Zachary, there is something involving a child. So I would warn you that it's
it will be a very hard. I
it's
will check it out, but it's one of those
it's
things
more
that is
than
very.
it's it's more than hard to watch. It's worth saying. It's worth saying.
But I think like if people don't know about that, then they don't have anything to be angry about. Like I think we get angry about really stupid shit, and instead of
Yeah,
being
that's
angry
true.
about the things that are really important. Like I think that
Mm-hmm.
if you have a whole group of people that are in charge of the protection of our children and our families, and instead of really helping them, you spend your entire time letting things go under the rug and making things worse for families. I think who should be under investigation. Yes, it's the parents that let this happen, but it should be the government, organization that should be looked at and say, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen? What do we do to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that people don't fall through the cracks and they get the help that they need? I don't care.
I'm not taking a double try.
The children act like we don't feed them. If you saw the house, it looks like Sam's Club threw up in our house. Like we live in a tiny house. It's what, 1,000 square feet, and sometimes it feels like that also includes the garage. So it's super small. Like you can see and hear everybody from wherever they are. Like bathroom, bedroom, it doesn't matter. Kitchen, everything is really small and really compact.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Sam's Club threw up in our dining room because there's no place to put the food. And I have kids that every 15 minutes, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And I'm like, you're gonna get fat.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I got a kid too. That's going to want to have lunch soon. So I think I'll be going to get him lunch in a few minutes. So I know
did
that
want to
very well.
I did want to end this on this topic. Can you explain Rotten Tomatoes and how the studios pay you?
This was Brian's whole thing. He's like, that's got to be the first thing we talk about. We've got to talk about this.
No, it's because it's silly. No one gets. People don't get paid. Look, there's a great episode of there's a show on True TV called Adam Ruins Everything. It breaks down how films. Yeah, with Oscar time, I get a bunch of DVD screeners. Sometimes I get cool books. Sometimes I get cool things. I got a great marriage story book, which is just beautiful. I got these awesome. They promote it, and they want you to vote for their movie. They want you to like their movie. No one's paying anybody for a good review. There are people that probably make shill reviews. Sure, there are, but it's in general. I'm not getting a check from Marvel for liking, giving a good review to Captain Marvel or Avengers. I'm not getting a good review for that, or money for that. No one. It's Rotten Tomatoes. Basically, every Rotten Tomato approved critic will review a movie. You go on Rotten Tomatoes. We'll post our review. I at least have, I don't have an assistant, so I pick the quote I use. I put the quote in there. I give it a number. To me, Rotten Tomatoes should be used like anything else. It's a guide. It's like you look at it. Like if a movie has 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, it might be good. There's a good chance it'll be good. If it has a 10%, there's a good chance it's not going to be good. But don't go by that. You may be that 10% that thinks, "Hey, I really like this movie. I really liked it. It's like anything else. It's like using a critic. When a critic speaks to you, when you kind of connect to that, you're not going to agree with everything. You shouldn't agree with everything so a critic says. You shouldn't. You just shouldn't. Dude, I love the Friday the 13th movies. They're not critically acclaimed ever. But I know what I like, but that's like you see a movie and I don't know. It's not. No one's being paid by Rotten Tomatoes, by Disney. It I feel like when that was coming up, and I think it's maybe died down a little bit, but it's just another website. It's just another website that got a little famous, and if it helps people, it's like when I a kid, I would watch the like Siskel Lieber, and I'd get, even if they didn't like the movie, if I saw a scene and the movie looked good to me, I'd want to see the movie. So I mean, that's yes. No, we're not being paid. Trust me. Like I haven't got my checks yet. I haven't gotten my checks from anyone yet. Universal didn't. I got a shirt for Invisible Man that did not affect my review. I love the movie, but it didn't affect my review whether I got the shirt or not. So yeah, it's most critics are not swayed by that. I'm sure some are. I'm sure there's some critics that love to have their name on their quotes on the movie boxes, and but they're not getting paid either. No one's getting paid by this. No, we're paid by whoever we work for. We like what we like, and maybe there's some people that just like maybe more movies that aren't very good, and that's fine. It's ultimately it's all opinion. That's what it is, and critics generally they approach it in a more intellectualized way, or we. But like your general audience, most of them don't care whether a movie gets great reviews. They just want to be entertained. That's why you see movies sometimes that do well that critics hate, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, Paul Blart was a huge hit. People love that movie. I didn't. I think it's garbage, but that's just my take on it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with liking bad movies. I like Freddy Got Fingered. I think that's hilarious.
I don't think I'm gonna see this movie, but I did love all the reading the reviews of Cats.
That was just fun. It was fun to watch. It was fun to read the reviews of people who are like, "What the hell?"
And they use it. They had fun with it. It's like I don't know. I think we take ourselves. Humanity takes itself way too seriously. That's ultimately what the problem. We take ourselves so seriously. Everything we do.
But if you think about it, like, what did you think was going to happen when you made a movie about a musical that people also trashed? Like, there's some great songs in that musical. I'm not going to say that. And I am by no means a theater critic, because I'm not. Like, I have no skills whatsoever. But there's beautiful music in that. And if you listen to people who trash the musical, what did you think was going to happen when you made a movie out of it? Like, that was the whole thing. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, you got to take it for what it's worth. Like,
you have to. I want to see I want to release the butthole cut of Cats. Apparently, there was a version of it where they had CGI cat buttholes, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not. I was not really. I didn't jump on the anti-cats bandwagon. I just don't care. I'm like, my life is too precious to sit through that movie, so I'm just not going to do it. I knew, like, I was scheduled to go see a screening of it. I'm like, I didn't have to review it. I'm like, well, darn, I'm going to miss that one. I don't care. But release the butthole cut of it, like the Snyder cut. Let's release the butthole cut. So, but hey, if that's your thing, if you want to see Cats, I know a lot of people that are hate watching it for fun. So I'm like, hey, if that gives you pleasure, it's probably going to be another Showgirls. In 20 years, people will still be watching Cats.
Well, the funny thing is, it depends on what you like you said, it depends on what you like, and there's something about the story that connects to it. So like for me, I'm one of those people, like, I love scary movies, but I love scary movies that say something. And I love scary movies that, like, they don't preach to you, but they put it out there. So like the newest Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, when in the whole, like, the basement scene where the daughter has this one perspective about how she was raised and the mother has another perspective about how she was raised. I was like, that right there is real life. Like, I think we all have a perspective about how we were raised. So is that movie really talking about parenting? No, but it is a theme in the movie talking about how our parents prepare us for the things that they know could happen. And if this is if your perspective is your truth, how do you prepare your kids for that? It's like, we are responsible for their outlook on life. So that was just one thing.
Scary to thought.
But I'm also
yes,
the person.
true. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't about. It's a horror movie. Like, it's not about parenting, but it is funny that they bring that in and they talk about the perspectives, and that hit me because I'm like, well, my mom's perspective on how she raised us was very like, I'm like, now that I'm pushing 40 and saying, oh well, that's not how I would have done things, but I catch my mouth opening and my mom coming out, like I do. And so
we do. We try not to, but we do.
I am that person that, if it was good enough for me, then it's good enough for my kids too. But in my head, I'm like, I would never say that. And sometimes you're forced to say or do those things that you were like, I will never do that. Well, I did. Oops. It was. But then I was also the kid. I mean, I'm also the person who I love Ewoks. Like, I'm sorry. I know people hate that movie. I know they do. And I'm like, but I was the 5-year-old carrying around a damn Ewok stuffed animal and thought it was the coolest thing ever. So, and I'm like, I still love Ewoks.
Yeah, it's
don't rock on anybody else's yum.
You did want to ask him about Midsommar, though.
Oh. Okay. I'm not a movie critic, but I want your take on Midsommar.
It's one of my favorite movies. I thought it was outstanding. Visually speaking, I love what he did directing. I think it was so visually interesting. I loved her performance. I also think it was so unexpected. I think it was weirdly hilarious. I mean, you could almost call it a comedy at stages. But what I think sometimes makes a great horror film is a movie that does hit, which means not everyone's going to like it. Some people are going to hate it. Some people will despise it. But I think that's interesting because I would rather walk into a movie sometimes and hate the movie because they took some bold chances and they took bold risks and they didn't play it safe. And I don't think Ari ever plays it safe. He didn't do it in Hereditary, certainly didn't do it in Midsommar. And I that is one of the reasons I love the movie. I also had a very personal connection to the movie. I have family and friends that have gone through depression or gone through heartbreak like that. And but yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant in the way that it connected to audiences like it did. Yet it also, I mean, I'm assuming you're not a fan.
Oh no, I love the movie.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But the things that what hit me was it was a horror story. It was a horror movie told completely in the light of day.
Yeah.
In the brightest light of day, like outside in the sun.
I mean, it's pretty. It's a pretty movie. You're every shot. But within that, there's those moments. Like, I don't know if you noticed, like in the trees, you can see the faces of her dead family. That gives me chills just thinking about it. And I honestly think she should have gotten an Oscar nomination. I think she was phenomenal in that movie.
She was amazing.
She's always good. She was great in Little Women. She was great in Fighting with My Family. She's going to be great in Black Widow. She's a fantastic actress. Amazing. So yeah, it's funny because Midsommar is one of those movies that you either love it or you hate it. And
it was so pretty. But the only two places where I looked away and then looked back and had trouble looking away again was when the 70-year-old couple sacrificed themselves and the woman hit the rock.
Yeah. That was
the most
hard to watch.
That I was like, what? And I like the hairs on my arms still stand up when I think about it because it was so like she freaking bounced. Like, oh my God. And then the man's death was even worse. Like, how do you but like the greatest directors I've always said is what you don't see. So like you saw her walk up with the mallet, but you didn't see her beat the snot out of him. You know, like, you didn't see all of that. You heard it, which I think was almost worse than seeing it.
Yeah. I think Ari is a phenomenal director. He knows when to show it, but he also knows when to pull away because it makes it all the more intense.
Well, because I was still reeling from the fact that she bounced off the rock. She's taken the mallet over to beat him in the head, and you hear it. And it was just like, oh, like probably a movie moment that scarred me. Like I'm like, oh Jesus, like, and then it is this beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's funny because all of these things are happening kind of in the background because you notice people are missing, and then there's little clues that get handed to you throughout the movie, and I'm just like, whoa. So at the end, I was like, he got exactly what he deserves.
Yeah, I like the real life message without
the weirdly happy ending.
I mean, it was happy ending. And you see her. I mean, you see her go through that rain, all of the emotions of grief, like that total despair, and she's disheartened, and then she's like,
yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful film. I think it's far better than like it's just it was in my top 5 of last year. I think it's really beautiful, and I've watched it a few times. I want to see the director's cut, which I haven't seen yet. And to make that long of a movie and still make it so watchable and engaging is impressive.
When it was a movie that I didn't have anything else in front of me, which is rare. Like there's always something. I'm always fiddling with something. I'm coloring, or I'm, playing a game on my phone, or my hands have to be busy. Or
yeah.
Well, if my hands aren't busy, then my hands are in my mouth and I chew my fingernails off. But but it was the one movie where I really sat and watched the whole thing. And I was like, wow, and it was beautiful. Like
I think it was more beautiful because we watched the 4K version on Amazon.
It was the bluest blue, and the sun was. It was
gorgeous.
Beautiful. So no, when I say that, I'm like, I was a true fan. It was like, I like scary movies, but I'm like genre scary movies, like funny slasher movies, okay, and I love vampire movies, and I love haunting movies, except for when you become possessed. Not really a fan of that, but this movie was really like, it made you think,
and it dealt with like cult stuff, which
I love cult anything,
it's
but
fascinating.
I also enjoyed Us, and I also enjoyed. We haven't seen Get Out. What was the other one that we saw that I said I really liked that movie? It Follows.
It Follows, yeah.
And so those 3 movies kind of made me. There was a theme, like a real life theme, but like told in a story that it didn't beat you over the head with how you should feel about it. It wasn't like sex is bad and drug use is bad, like the tropes that you always see in slasher movies. But this was just kind of a way of saying that these are the things that are happening in our world, and it's kind of it's tragic in a way. And
a good horror movie. The Babadook is another one that does that really well. It's there's a lot. There's a great movie. I would recommend to you, if you like ghost stories. I don't know if you've seen it, Brian. You may have seen it. It's called The Changeling. George C. Scott from 1980, I believe.
Yes,
it's one of the best ghost stories I've ever seen, and it's terrifying.
I haven't seen that one.
I saw it like years ago.
I don't know. You
might like that one.
I've seen the newer one with who was in that one?
I don't remember who it.
I've seen pieces of the newest one.
Completely. Okay, it's not the same movie. It's a completely different story. It's not a remake. It's just the same name. The Changeling is basically just a smart ghost story with George C. Scott, Trish Van Devere, I believe, is her name. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but it's a very smart and very chilling film with no gore, no just, but it's a little hard to watch because it also deals with real life abuse
Yeah.
issues. But it's one of the best horror films ever made, in my opinion.
It is.
It's definitely worth seeing.
George C. Scott was very picky on his roles, so.
Yes, yeah, he's not the kind to do a cheesy slasher film, and it's fantastic film. And I always urge people to watch The Changeling because it's one of the best that genre has to offer from the 80s.
When it's like the other thing that you said a little while ago in the interview is that you said that when you write a review, you talk about how it affected you and how you made the connection to that film for whatever reason. And so I always, like I said, I'm that girl that loved Ewoks, and that's part of my childhood. But there was a lot of people that made lots of comments about Captain Marvel, and I know people don't love that movie and they don't love her. But there is the montage where she's getting up, and they showed every moment in her life where she got up, and she kept getting up. And like, I'm a sap. I really am. Like, I cry.
Nothing wrong with that.
The damn Budweiser commercial with the dog made me cry. Like, I cry. So there's that like montage of where she's getting up and she's getting up and she's getting up and she's getting up. And I said, did anybody watch that 45 seconds of the movie? Because that talks about how human, like, that's what it's like to be human. You knock us down, we get back up. You knock us down, we get back up. You knock us down, we get back up. And then we reach out. Still, even after we've been knocked down and get back up. So I said, like, if you didn't pay attention to that 45 seconds of the movie, it was all lost on you. And there's other things, like other movies where, like, it's a 45-second chunk of a movie that I'm just like, that was the whole purpose. Like, did you watch the same movie I did? But
some people just don't connect to it, and it's all about connection. I mean, that's. But I agree with you. I think I actually I didn't love Captain Marvel, but I did like that moment. I did like the movie. I did end up giving it about a good review when I'm not a Marvel fan all the time.
Yeah.
So I appreciated what they were trying to say. I think there were issues I had with it, but I definitely appreciated that aspect of it.
Well, and then did you talk to him about The Way Back?
Ben Affleck. Oh my God, that great movie.
Yeah, I still need to see that.
See, there's two movies. There's two movies called The Way Back. There's the one with
that one
from 2019 or 2018 with Sam Rockwell, right?
The Way Back.
Is it The Way Back?
Yeah, well, there's with Facebook.
Facebook glitched out and tagged the wrong movie in my post. But so we were talking about The Way Back with some friends of ours, and I said it's kind of a slow movie,
but it needed to be.
But it needed to be because he is standing in the forefront of the movie, really, and it's being told around him. And so, like,
no, I lost you guys again.
Was it?
Oh, there you are.
It was well told. It was well told. Like, I didn't think that it was slow, which I don't generally like, but it was well told. Like,
you felt his pain.
You understood why he was the way he was, and you understood why he felt the way he did, and you understood what it took for him to get to that point, and for him to understand finally. So it was like, I don't want to give the movie away if he hasn't seen it. So, but
I haven't seen it yet. That's what I will watch.
it took a pandemic for me to sit and watch the movie because I wouldn't have gone to the movies. I wouldn't have gone to the movies and seen it for two reasons. One, I ugly cry. That's the only way I cry. And two is if it's one of those movies that are, we don't have a babysitter. So if it's a drama movie, I'm waiting until it comes out. And then I've heard a million people talk about it and I've, heard their take on it. So I'll still see it and it won't affect how I think about the movie, but I will have waited and had a lot of, buzz in my ear about something and not maybe gotten the same out of it that I would have gotten if I'd gone to the movie theater, which
For sure.
is good because I actually didn't cry, which was surprising, but I also had, my hands were busy. So I'm watching the movie, but my hands are busy. So I'm not really like 100% like, concentrating on it. So I didn't think about it, but I did tear up and there was about a minute and a half in the movie that tells the story that you're like, oh.
So I definitely can't wait to hear
That's
your review on this.
Yes. So review it.
I'll check it. Yeah, when I get a chance, I'll check it out. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's been really fun talking to you and hearing your story and your thoughts on.
It's 3:30 already.
Well,
we started late though, didn't we?
We started late.
Well, no, thanks for having me on, guys. I had a good time. It was very fun seeing your family together too. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch the show, then you see that a lot because they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys, and definitely thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah. So for our viewers, besides Joe Blow, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on all of it. I got a TikTok account. I have no idea why. I've got a Snapchat. I've got
You're gonna dance
Twitter.
on TikTok.
I'm gonna dance. I have. I actually did one with Chad and Nick. Ironically enough, Chad Lindbergh and Nick Groff, which did very well apparently. You can find me on Twitter, Jimmy to the O, Instagram, Jimmy to the O, Facebook, James Oster, Joe Blow, Arrow in the Head. You can watch my new show, Sounds Scary. The first episode is available on Prime, Amazon Prime. So it's an interview with Ian Honeyman, who is a composer, a film composer, and he's really phenomenal. Yeah, so I've got a lot of little projects kind of working out right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
All right. Well, we've had a pleasure talking with you, and hope to do it again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to come back on.
All right, man. Well, you have a good one, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Stay safe out there.
You too.
All right, bye. Well, that was really fun. I've been wanting to get him on for a while just because of what he does.
It's just interesting, and I think I've never talked that much in an interview ever.
Yeah, you had fun.
I did, but I have fun for lots of different reasons because he's talking about all these really cool things. I wrote like a million notes about things we need to check out and things that were really cool that I didn't know, and I was like, oh, let's write this stuff down. But it was definitely fun, and it's he's kind of in our wheelhouse. Like we sit around and talk about movies that we watch together. Like, what did we just watch?
And he gets paid for it though.
Oh well, yeah.
And it was nice. It was nice for him though to break down Rotten Tomatoes.
It's funny though because people, I think they all assume that we all get paid for things. Like I told James this before we went on, and I said, it's funny that they think you get paid for that. I said, my kids think I get paid for writing referrals, and I'm like, where's my extra money then? I was like, and then dang, I guess I should be sitting down writing those 4 referrals on you knuckleheads that I should have wrote, that I didn't write. But if you're going to pay me for it, if it's like my bonus, then, my bonus money, I'll spend some extra time writing up referrals for you being a knucklehead. Then
I wonder how much you would get paid for each referral.
Dang. Because I got knuckleheads aplenty. They're 8th graders. They think they know everything.
All
Yet
right.
they know nothing.
Well, we're gonna let everybody go and enjoy the rest of their Sunday.
Thanks for checking us out both days, like back to back. Feels like.
All right, you guys have a good one. Bye bye.
We need to check.